So guys, another day and we are back for some more Championship transfer rumours. The rumour mill is not slowing down at the moment. Tonight we've also got the Championship playoff final going on. If you want to see my thoughts on that, check out yesterday's video where I gave my predictions for what I see happening tonight. But as always, and the nature of the rumour mill, we've got a lot to talk about in today's video. So if you did go to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Starting out with some managerial news, we recently saw Eddie Howe step down as the Bournemouth manager, and what a job he's done there, you know, taking over in December 2008 when they were in the depths of League Two. To take them all the way to the Premier League, it's been some journey to say the least, but I'm interested to see who they're going for next. Currently the favourite for the job is Jason Tindall. He's been the assistant manager to Eddie Howe wherever he's gone, so obviously he knows the club, you know, at Bournemouth inside and out really, and it has been said in recent reports that he will be considered for the job. He's currently in temporary charge until they do find that successor. And some of the other names have been interesting ones to say the least on the shortlist. You know, Chris Hughton, who's been linked to every job under the sun recently, has been one name mentioned. John Terry's been in there, Paul Cook. But the second favourite at the moment on Sky Bet for the job is Gary Monk, which I find a bit of a curveball out of nowhere. Scott Parker's been another name who's been linked to the Bournemouth job this morning as well. We'll wait and see how he gets on in the playoff final. But the Bournemouth job, overall, it's quite an attractive one really. You've got an owner there who's going to back you in a project of getting back up to the Premier League. I think, you know, for any sort of up-and-coming manager, it's quite an attractive prospect. But now let's move on into some transfer news. So the big story going around the league at the moment is that of Matty Cash. Now, he's been linked to a lot of Premier League clubs over the last probably month or so, but there has been real speculation popping up recently with the bid coming in from Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest rejecting a £10 million bid. Now, that move in many ways, you know, would make quite a bit of sense. Matty Cash, in the position he plays as an attacking fullback, I think would fit into that system at Sheffield United with the two wing backs that they like to play on that right hand side. So far, I mean, this season in the Championship, you'd probably say that Matty Cash and Luke Ayling have been like the two outstanding right backs in the league. This season for Cash, he bagged 3 goals and got 5 assists, and it's how he's transitioned from a winger into a fullback, which is why I think he'd make an excellent wing back for a club like Sheffield United. However, he is in many ways Nottingham Forest prize asset, so they're not going to let him go on the cheap. There's been speculation that Sheffield United are going to come in with another bid of around £12 million. So Nottingham Forest fans, let me know in the comments down below, what would you value Matty Cash at? Joe Lolly's been another Forest player who's been linked away. The links to Aston Villa have resurfaced. I remember this transfer rumour from last year as well. Joe Lolly, I think he'd be a decent option for Villa, certainly an improvement on someone like El Ghazi maybe. This time around in the Championship, he's had a decent year for Forest, scoring 9 goals and grabbing 8 assists. Similar to Matty Cash, another one of their prize assets who they're not going to be able to afford to let go on the cheap. Blackburn Rovers continue to be linked with Charlton Athletic goalkeeper Dylan Phillips. This one not coming as a massive surprise. One of Blackburn's main priorities in this summer is going to be a new goalkeeper. Phillips this season I think would be an excellent addition as well. At only 25 years old, no goalkeeper made more saves last season than Dylan Phillips did. He produced some outrageous saves along the way. There were a couple of double saves which were just mind-bending. Massively underrated keeper. He'd be a good option for Blackburn. And speaking of Blackburn, one of their prize assets is being linked to the Premier League at the moment, that of Adam Armstrong. Both Newcastle and Crystal Palace are interested. Obviously Adam Armstrong formerly of Newcastle, but this season has been a real breakthrough for him. You know, we all knew about the talent he had, but this season I think he's actually gone under the radar a little bit. He had 22 goal involvements this season with 16 goals and 6 assists. That's an absolutely excellent return. I think that everyone's been so busy, you know, being caught up in the hype of the likes of the Ben Ramas, Herreras, the Pablos. Someone like Armstrong really has flown under the radar at only 23 years old. For that goal return is absolutely superb. He's really added a new dimension to his game this season. In front of goal looks cold as ice. He's got that pace to get in behind, can play anywhere along the forward line, you know, whether that's as a number 9, as a number 10 or out wide. And he scored a variety of goals this season as well. You know, he's got free kicks in his locker. That outrageous goal he scored against Cardiff as well. It's no surprise to see him being linked to those Premier League clubs. So Blackburn fans, I'd be interested to know from you guys, how much do you think he's worth? It's interesting to see as well, if Newcastle's takeover failed, they've gone from being linked with Mbappe to Adam Armstrong, but I shouldn't disrespect him because he has been class this season. And Coventry are looking close to completing the deal for Arsenal youngster Ben SHEAF. He spent last season out on loan at Doncaster, really impressed there, plays as a deep line playmaker in that DM role, but he's quite versatile with the other roles he can play. He can also play at centre back. I think for Arsenal's youth academy he's played at right back before, can play a little bit further forward in midfield as well. Looks like a really good option for them. The fee being around about 900k as well, so Coventry not messing about, are they? This one's an option that excites me though. Someone who's comfortable on the ball in those deep positions is going to be something that they need coming into the league. Adds a bit more quality into their midfield, and they're only 22 years old. I think they're getting a good deal there. Championship veteran Lee Camp has been released by Birmingham. It's a bit of an end of an era there, isn't he? He's been linked to Salford City. He's had his ups and downs during his time at Birmingham, hasn't he? But I'll miss Lee Camp in the Championship. And speaking of Birmingham, they've been linked to Forest winger Albert Adoma. Not sure what to make of this one really. He's 32 years old now. He didn't play all too much football this season. He made quite a few appearances off the bench bench for Forest in the first half of the year, then got that loan move to Cardiff. He'd looked to be a replacement for Magoma, who was let go in the summer, and I know that obviously Artikarenka has that relationship with Doma working together at Borough. But at 32 years old, I think he'd be a decent squad option for Birmingham. Would he be a starter week in, week out though? I'm not so sure. And Daniel AYALA has been another former Middlesbrough player who has been linked to Birmingham as well as Swansea. I think AYALA could do a job for a number of Championship clubs actually. Only 29 years old and available on the free this summer as well. I think he looks like quite a promising prospect for, like I say, quite a few Championship clubs, especially for Swansea if they are going to continue playing that three at the back system going into next season, and with the possibility that Van der Horn could be leaving this summer as well. Both for Birmingham, who are looking for that replacement for Jake Clark-Salter, and for Swansea would be a good option for either of them. And I've also seen Birmingham being linked to Barnsley captain Alex Mowatt. I think the Barnsley fans were expecting this one really. There was always going to be quite a bit of interest after the season he's just had. 25 years old, 3 goals, 8 assists from midfield this season. One of, if not their key players in keeping them up this season. I think that Barnsley recently triggered an extension on his contract, so they wouldn't be willing to let him go on a cheap deal. I could imagine, you know, he's absolutely crucial to that side. I'd imagine as the weeks go on though, there'll be more than Birmingham that are interested in him. Moving over to QPR now, with it looking more than likely that Averieze will be off this window to somewhere in the Premier League, they're going to need to start looking for replacements. One name that I have seen come up has been Izzy Brown, currently at Chelsea. Now, he's had a whole host of loan spells out to the Championship of varying success. Now, my opinion on Izzy Brown, I like him a lot when he can stay fit. He's had that problem throughout his career so far, just doesn't seem to be able to catch a break. But when he gets a consistent run on the side, I think he is a fantastic creative player at this level. He showed that from his flashes at Luton this season, got 7 assists, was by far and large their most creative player, averages 2.1 key passes per match, got 7 assists for them this season. Technically, I do think he's very good in those little tight spaces and having that vision to look forward. I think to find a replacement for Eze is always going to be a tough one, you know, doesn't quite have that end product in terms of shooting or pace as an Eze, but certainly in terms of the vision and passing, I don't think that would be an all too bad option for QPR to consider. And then with Asai Samuel also potentially being off this summer, they're looking for a replacement for him. One name I've seen also linked to QPR has been Jamal Lowe. Now, it took Jamal Lowe a bit of time to get going in the Championship after making his move over from Portsmouth, but in the end actually ended the season on decent numbers, 11 goal contributions with 6 goals and 5 assists. It was his decision making and link up with others that just wasn't quite there at the start of the season. Like a lot of Wigan players really, it took them a while to get going this season, but once he did finally hit the ground running, actually looked to be quite a decent outlet out on that right hand side, and with a manager like Matt Warburton with the football they like to play, could be scoped into something quite decent for them. And speaking of QPR, they look close to completing the deal for 25-year-old centre-back Charlie Goode, the Northampton Town captain. Now, had a fantastic year in League 2 with them getting promotion. In terms of defensive statistics in the EFL, Charlie Goode was right near the top of them for most of them. In terms of aerial duels won, he's absolutely massive, stands at 6'5", really strong defender, and after QPR let go Grant Hall, they were looking to improve this area over the summer. And there has been quite a bit of interest from multiple Championship clubs. I think that North End have been linked, Blackburn, Middlesbrough as well. At only 25 years old, for all the characteristics that he does have, I know the jump from League 1 to the Championship's quite a bit, but looks by all accounts to be quite a promising deal. And Norwich City fullback Max Aarons has been linked to a whole bunch of big clubs, the biggest of which being Bayern Munich, who's been interested lately. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know how highly I rate Max Aarons. In that promotion season with Norwich, he was absolutely sublime, and even despite the season that Norwich have had this time round, I think with quite a few of their youngsters actually, you can still see the potentials there. Norwich has been a fantastic club over the last few years with both picking up youngsters and selling them on and bringing through youngsters through their academy. You know, we look at how well they did with the selling fees for the Murphys, James Maddison, and this current crop of youngsters that they've got at the moment. There's a massive selling potential for each of them. The fee being talked about at the moment with Max Aarons around 20 million. Norwich have already been fairly busy themselves in this transfer window, bringing people in, and I think they are expecting a few departures. But a move to Bayern Munich would be something to say the least. There was one rumour I saw pop up around North End, David Nugent being linked with a move to Salford City. Now, Nugent, he's still got a year left at North End, and while he does have that year on his contract and the money he's actually on at Preston, I can't see him going anywhere really. The move back to Preston, as much of a sentimental one as it was, it hasn't really worked out, just scoring the 1 goal last season. He did have a couple of decent impacts off the bench, but overall at 35 years old, I think the Championship's just one step too far for him these days, isn't it? I think over this summer North End are looking to rebuild our forward line, and Nugent doesn't really have a place in the future for that. Barnsley look to be getting close to a deal for Livingston striker Lyndon Dykes, with reportedly a £2 million bid put in. Now, with strikers coming over from the Scottish League, I'd say there's a bit of a hit and miss record for whether they make it in the Championship or not. You know, some have absolutely gone on to excel, others just haven't quite hit the ground running, but when you look at his scoring record in in the Scottish Championship with Livingston over the past couple of seasons. You can see why there is interest there. There's also been interest from a few clubs in Scotland as well. I know Rangers have been sniffing around for quite a while. This season though, got 9 goals and 8 assists. A good link-up man up front, and with the way that Barnsley play normally with those 2 strikers, I think could be a decent option in that system. Has played a number of roles as well in Scotland so far. Played as a striker, played as a second striker and out wide. And so being able to play in a number of roles does suit Barnsley down to a T. It's just a question of can he make that transition into English football successfully. Wolves defender Ryan Bennett could be making the move back to Carrow Road to Norwich. Now if there's one area where Norwich are probably going to be looking to strengthening over this transfer window, it is going to be their back line after how their Premier League campaign went. Ryan Bennett knows Carrow Road like the back of his hand really. Spent 6 seasons there, and it wasn't all too long ago since he was a first team regular in this Wolves side who's been flying high in the Championship. He spent the second half of this season out on loan at Leicester, but before that with Wolves was a mainstay in their back line. In the 18-19 season made 34 league appearances for them and was a crucial figure in them getting promoted from the Championship. Norwich fans, would you take Ryan Bennett back? Let me know down below. Another defender Norwich have been linked to is Fulham centre half Alfie Mawson. I'm not all too sure what to think of this one really. After making his move over a £20 million move, must I say, from Swansea a couple of summers ago, things just haven't clicked for him at Fulham. I wouldn't be all too surprised to see him making that move away in the summer either, but I don't think they get anywhere near the 20 million he paid for him. To be fair to him, he has been unlucky with injuries during his time at Fulham so far, but in the first half of this season when he was a regular in the first team, I thought that he was a bit of a liability at the back, and Fulham have improved immensely, replacing him with Michael Hector in January. I don't know, I'm not all too sold on that one. I think since his days at Swansea he has dropped off a bit, but at only 26, he does have that ability to bounce back somewhere else. Arsenal have been linked with a move back in for midfielder Josh DASILVA. They let him go a couple of years ago. Brentford picked him up, and what a bargain that turned out to be. 10 goals and 4 assists for DASILVA this season. Been one of the most underrated midfielders in the league for me. Now, it depends with what happens with Brentford tonight in the playoff final. You have that fear that if they don't go up, a lot of this team could be purged by, Premier League clubs, and Brentford have been, fantastic with recruiting players and replacing people, but there's going to be a lot of interest in, you'd imagine, all their starting 11 should they not go up. Josh DASILVA could turn out to be Arsenal's version of Paul Pogba. United letting him go to Juventus, then buying him back for an inflated price. Brentford, no doubt won't be selling him on the cheap. I think from his time in the Arsenal youth setup, he was used more as a winger, but this season he's been a fantastic box-to-box midfielder for Brentford, and that's the position you see him going into in the future. Sheffield Wednesday continues to be linked with Wigan striker Josh WINDASS, who impressed in the second half of the season out on loan at Wednesday, but they do face competition from a couple of other sides who are in the race for him. Both Rangers, his previous club, and Middlesbrough are also monitoring his situation at Wigan. I think that Wigan will be making him available for a transfer. Things just didn't quite click with him there, but his goal scoring record, despite his real lack of game time this season overall, has been fairly decent. He scored 7 goals in the 18 starts he had in the league this season, so you can see why the interest is there. Got a bit of pace going forward. If you get the right people around him, he can be a decent player at this level. But there we have it, guys. That will now wrap it up for today's episode of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup. So if you did go to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Like I said, now the transfer window is up and rolling. I'll have these videos coming out more and more regularly as the weeks do go on. If you are new around here, make sure to stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. We got a lot to come over these next few weeks. But apart from that, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.